And welcome to another Round the Rotary podcast. Me, your host, JP Warren. And before we begin, I got to say that Round the Rotary podcast is brought to you by Petroleum Consultants. CPC specializes in project engineering, well site supervision, and all disciplines in the oil and gas industry. Contact us through www.capitalpetroleumconsultants.com to see what CPC can do for you today. And we're doing this podcast right now via Zoom. Haven't done one of these in a while, but it kind of gets back to kind of the basics for me, because this is actually when we started around the Rotary during COVID, during the lockdown, and kind of this is where the first, I think, probably about 20-25 episodes, how they occurred via Zoom. So we're doing this now. We're going back to the basics, and with us today we got old Brett Chell. Did I get that last name right?
Yeah. Chell. A lot of people say Shell, like the oil company, but it's Chell. You got
Shell.
it.
Shell, the
Not
president and CEO at the president and CEO of coldboard technology. And thanks for doing this. And I'm in Houston right now, and it's April 7th, and you are in where right now? Where are you recording this?
Out of my place in Calgary. Yep.
You got a little
good old Canada,
working from the house.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah, we got a bunch of guys in our shop that work out of there, and I'm not overly concerned about it personally, but as a business, we're trying to just make sure we don't get any cases of COVID in there and shut down our ops. So I stay here. So
Canada is still pretty strict on COVID, right?
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's I don't know why this is. Yeah, it's I've heard up there it's like, you got to do a government like quarantine, and you got to stay in the hotel still. It's still pretty like kind of April of 2020 up there, it feels like.
I mean, I won't get all too crazy on this, but yeah, they say that, and they tell people, yeah, you got to go in your mandatory hotel, but legally, and I've looked into this, it's not true. You can just walk out. We have the same thing. Like we have a kind of a charter of rights, a lot like your guys's constitution, right? And so there's laws as a Canadian citizen, you cannot make them go to a hotel. But the government sure likes to say that it's mandatory.
But then you'll get shamed too, man. You'll get shamed. It's just but the thing is, though, you're right. It's kind of a weird part right now in this world. Every country is handling, every household is handling it differently too. So it's like, what are you gonna do? You got to respect others, and still you got to kind of fight for your right to party, I guess.
The funny thing is that respect others seems to go one way when it's put a mask on because you're going to kill my grandma, but it doesn't go the other way when we don't choose that. Respect this.
We don't have civil conversations anymore. It's either you agree with me or you're against me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. I'm looking at Texas and Florida now, buddy. Lake Travis is looking pretty good. I love guns. I love not wearing masks and sunshine. Like I'm going to be down there. I'll be a Texan in no time.
So not only is Texas importing Californians and New Yorkers, we're going to get some Canadians too. Hey, honestly, I welcome Canadians to Texas. I mean, we have a lot of good buddies from Canada, I guess, in the oil patch around here. So welcome.
Thanks, buddy. I spent over the last 5 years probably more time in, I'll call it half and half, Texas and Canada. Just because all of our business is down there, right? We employ 50 or 60 Americans down there. A lot of them are in Texas. We have headquarters down there. I'm down there for meetings all the time. Our business is down there, and I just love Texas.
And y'all also, I mean, obviously we're going to get into this a little bit, but y'all also have other footprints around the globe. 7 countries y'all are active in? 6? What was it? I just want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah. We have equipment running kind of all over the place right now. Some in China, some in the Middle East, a lot in the MENA region, Canada, US. So yeah, we got kits kind of running all over. Anywhere they're looking for oil, we're running stuff.
I dig that. Well, Brett, I want to get this kicked off, man. First off, love how we're doing this. Is the first time we've actually talked, and the first time I've seen you. I see you got a good style, man. You got the tats. You got. It's kind of like, I started growing my hair out long, and I get some flack from some people about growing the hair long. But at this point in age, it's like, whether it's COVID, whether it is, man, you got to put your individuality right now. And it's not the old school oil field that I guess we grew up in anymore. It's changing and evolving literally right before our eyes. So, man, I dig it. I appreciate it. We need more like you. That's what I'm saying.
Same here, buddy. Love it. That's super humbling. Love it.
Well,
yeah, we're taking the field into the office. That's what we're doing now.
Might as well, man. So I'll tell you what. Well, I mean, you can't get out to the field these days, so might as well bring it to the office. Get us kicked off. We always do a little background. I mean, give us a background about yourself, kind of your background, and kind of how I guess you came into the coldboard technology. Is this a company you start? I mean, actually, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself. I'm gonna slow it down. Start off with a little background about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So, and that's what I mean by bringing the field into the office. So I started in the field in 2000, like early 2000s, yeah, on drilling rigs, and spent 10 years out there. Longer than I had planned on being out there. I initially, when I got out of high school, I graduated in 2000. So there you go. I'll date myself.
I'm 98, so I feel you.
Yeah. So I went to art school in Vancouver here at a pretty good art school. I'm a professional artist as well. So I thought, I'll go waste a couple of years painting pictures. Only lasted about 6 months and wanted to make some money. And
so what kind of art did you so my sister's an artist. We had kind of an artistic family. So what kind of art did you, did you like doing? Was it sculpture? Was it oil? What was it?
I was into a lot of portraiture and stuff like that back then. And now I'm a graffiti artist. So I sell large graffiti pieces mixed with portraiture, it's kind of all over the place. It's more modern graffiti. Think like if you mixed portraiture with like Alec Monopoly type art, then
all right,
get what I do.
Did you do that that couch on your Coldboard Technologies? They have a YouTube page. I highly recommend everyone go check it out. Y'all got some cool graphics, some cool videos, and it seems like honestly, like as we talked before, I'm not a tech guy, but at the same time, I was going through your videos, and it's pretty captivating stuff. Did you do that chair that's behind you in that the graffiti chair?
Yeah. Some furniture, stuff like that for fun. You bet. Furniture. I've done Baja trucks for guys that race in the Baja, flew down to the States and painted their trucks. They're pretty rad. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Whatever. I don't care. Throw some paint on it.
Well, I think we need to talk after this about maybe getting you to do something for me or around the Rotary, because I love that style, man. So anyway, awesome. So were you first generation oil field?
Yeah. So yes, pretty much. My grandpa, when I was really young in the 80s boom, he bought some fields and started drilling some stuff, but he smoked a few dusters and wasted a few $1,000,000. So that was it. That was my family's foray into oil and gas. And then I just went in the field because in 2000, it was the boom. Everybody who was making money. I mean, in early 2000s, for someone that was 19 or 20 to be making 140 grand a year was pretty.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. So we did it.
So you found yourself. So you graduated. You studied art. I don't know why it's doing this. Let me shut this down. So you studied art in college, professional, and then let me just close this. Sorry, Zoom issues. So you studied art professionally, you wanted to make some more cash, so you started going out to the field. So what was your, your first feeling going from, the art world to, the working a drilling rig in the field?
It's wild. I credit a lot of who I am today and what I could do with that experience. Cause I mean, quite frankly, I wasn't soft, but by the standards of the oil patch, I was pretty soft before I went out there. And going out there was a shock. Like my first day on the rig, my push we were tripping pipe and I was a lease hand and I shouldn't have been tripping pipe anyway, but they decided to throw me on the floor. And he kicked my lunch out of the chain shack after 11 hours. I'd finally sat down to eat. And he's like, no, I didn't tell you to eat. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a long run.
What I get myself into?
Yeah. And that was back then in Canada here, we got into the safety thing a lot faster than the US, but we were still working in t-shirts and tied overalls around our pants. And, it was a bit more like
the Wild West
90s. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the 80s, 90s Wild West oil field. Yeah. Where you go there with your Levi's on.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was very rough and it's awesome. It's a good thing to do.
So you're doing that. You're making some money now, and you're getting some experience. So I guess did you just decide to stay in the oil field? I guess after the pay, or what you learned. I mean, was it the people or was it the paycheck? What kept you, in the oil field?
Yeah, it was definitely the money. Like I was planning on going out there for a year or two just to make some cash and then do whatever else I thought. Cause I was like, man, this is hard work. And then just stayed out there for, close to 10 years, 7 or 8 years. So I, around, 2005 or 6, I was the second employee guy hired at a company called Extreme Coil Drilling. And so we were, doing technology development at that point. So doing coil top drive hybrid rigs that were the future for drilling before the extended reach horizontals got too long. And we all know coil didn't become the tech we thought it would. But back then it was a really cool thing. And so we built 300 and 400s for those companies and for that company and brought it down to Costa Rica. And then we sent them over to the Middle East. SLB ended up acquiring those assets just recently. So they were fairly successful rigs, at doing coil work.
So you were, okay, let me get this straight. Let me get the timeline straight. So
Yeah.
you're working on the rig for about 7-8 years, right?
Yeah.
So were you actively looking for something new? I mean, how did this other company, I guess, approach you? I mean, I guess, was it time for you to start doing something else personally, or what was the motivation behind that?
No, we were just working in the field, and I was working with my brother-in-law who actually got me out there, and he was pushing for this other company, and they started a new company and brought him, and he brought me. And so we went to do technology development, just happened to be the first guys there. And then that's
Did you have any experience? Did you have any experience with technology development previous to this?
No, but you don't need that in the oil patch. I didn't have any experience doing electrical either, but they had me in there wiring up electrical stuff back then.
Was that just roughneck it, just get in there and do it, huh?
Oh yeah, I was Dercan then, and they're like, "Oh, you can come over here and just install all these VFDs." I'm like, "What's that?" All right, plug it in. Sure. Yeah, it was a whole different world back then. Like you just figure it out.
So okay, so you're at this new company, and it's you're expanding into all these international markets. Now, are you traveling at this point?
A little bit into the States and Mexico, a couple trips, but not really. Like
Okay.
nothing like now.
All right.
And then got out of that and decided like that's the end of my patch career for a while. And then wanted to get in and really wanted to learn how to build like substantial companies. And a mentor of mine told me, is like, it doesn't matter if you want to make wooden spoons or fly video cameras to space. You got to learn how to finance that business, or you're not doing either of them.
Okay. So have you always had this entrepreneurial, I guess, spirit in you, or it's like, I mean, I guess what was the decision point for you? I guess you kind of just want to go pursue and build your own company?
First thing, honestly, and this, everyone has a good laugh at this, I am completely and 100% unemployable. Like there's the worst. Yeah.
Dive into that a little bit. What do you mean?
I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to do it. And that's it. And that's all there is to it. So I'm just not a good employee. And, the other side of that coin is my whole family, literally everyone, both my grandparents on both sides,
right.
My 3 uncles, my mom and her 2 sisters, everybody, and my mom and dad, everyone had their own business. Like my grandma and grandpa were the butcher and the florist of the small town that we came from.
Okay.
They weren't called entrepreneurs back then. They were just,
I think that's like a late 90s word.
Yeah. But so no one in our family has ever had jobs. No one.
So this is just one of those things where it's just, you kind of had to just follow the family tradition, just kind of do your own thing.
I think it's just what like it's the environment you're brought up in. Like we just, I was never brought up in an environment where people were, had that mentality of, this is what you do to be a good employee. And so I wasn't taught it, didn't see it, didn't know it. You just like, okay, I guess I'm starting a business when I'm 18. And so you go do it.
So what, I guess having that I guess mental state of, I'm unemployable. I kind of want to do what I want to do. I want to do my own thing. Marched, I guess, your own beat of your drum. How does that, I guess trickle into, I guess, how you run your business? I mean, do you find that kind of being a strength of I guess, how you run your teams?
Yeah, I do, because inside of our business, we're a very fast growing platform company now with coldboard, right? We have an opportunity that is beyond the size of what we even initially planned. And so we have to move very quickly, and we're scaling fast, which means we need very specific experienced people in positions that we hire that are going to move to another position of managing people they put under them as we scale. So I need that mentality inside this business where you have to be a bit of a self-starter. Like we, first of all, want employees, but they need to have that element of, I know what I'm looking for in this company that I know I could go handle for someone, to identify a hole. That's not my job technically, but I see that that's going to need to be addressed. Right. And I'll go find it and I'll start doing it. And I'll bring the proposal to the team. We'll put it in the structure and make sure that that's what the team wants. We're all aligned, but then I'm going to execute. And I think that's really entrepreneurial of, like that's what problem solving, identification and problem solving, as much as experience.
I'll tell you one thing, man. Like it's just one of those things where it's like, it seems like finding, good people, good talent is one thing, but also adding that extra layer of the being a self-starter and being a self-motivator to identify problems that aren't handed to you or aren't, you're tasked with. I mean, how how do you identify that with, I guess, potential hires? I mean, what do you look for? Is it just how their personality is? Is it kind of what their background? I guess, how do you identify that self-starter motivator that I guess that you're looking for?
I think for me, it's really obvious when you first meet someone, like just the way they talk and the way they see the world and the questions they ask. And when they're asking you interview questions, like if the first question before they know anything about the job is, what am I getting paid? And then that's an employee looking for a salary. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But if the first question is, I heard about this company and it's a platform and we could scale this thing, can you explain that to me? And they go, and they're really excited about, holy crap. This is where I want to work.
They should here. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, holy shit. Like this is big. And you guys are going to connect this industry and move it to automation. Like I want to be here.
They want to be, they want to be part of the part of the action, part of the story versus collecting that check.
That's the way it is. And a lot of the guys, like we've got C-suite guys that join me now that are like really high level guys that come from established, much larger, big service companies. And they work with us now, COO, CT, like these guys. And they're working for half their salary out there because we don't pay Halliburton salary, but they're coming for a good salary with equity because they understand you don't get rich off salary, you get rich off equity.
Right. Absolutely. Right. So I guess let's take a couple steps back. I mean, so you started this with you hopped on this. You were the second, or what do you say, employee, the 12th employee with your brother-in-law at this thing. So walk me through, I guess, your different steps, kind of what you enjoyed, what you didn't, and kind of I guess where you saw the need for a coldboard technology for forming, and kind of the story behind that. So that's a lot of questions wrapped in one. I'll let you just take it and go, brother.
I think like more importantly, so after I left Extreme, I met up, this was like, if anyone's listening to this that wants to start a business, and like I come from the field with no degree in anything to start and that's a gap that a lot of guys want to bridge and are fully capable of it. So where my bridge got built was I found a group of entrepreneurs that were in California and Calgary here that were building tech companies. And that's what they did. And the one mentor that I had, who's actually an uncle of mine, who is on the butcher and the florist, that grandma and grandpa.
Yes.
One of their children. So it's my dad's brother. Okay. So he was out doing his thing because he'd been growing up in that, and he'd done a lot of successful companies and financed some really big stuff. So built a couple multi-billion-dollar businesses, right? Wow. Built and lost. So he's got a whole story. If you want a guy on a podcast, that's the guy.
Get the butcher's son.
Oh, the butcher's son. That's right, man. He's got a crazy story.
That'd be the title of the podcast, The Butcher's Son. And we'll just talk about the $1 billion companies he's lost.
Buddy, you just gave me an idea for a brand, like the butcher's grandson. That's it.
Well, wait a minute. You've heard T-shirts. This first. You've heard this first around the Rotary, so I own a piece of that. So, So anyway, so were these tech companies, were they oil and gas, or were they just tech companies?
No, like these are payment rail companies. They founded, so Cam and his group in the 2000 boom, he was like 27 years old. They built a company to $1.5 billion market cap. And it was the first company to license Microsoft products for download, which was ASP, which is now cloud computing. So he's regarded as one of the founders or fathers of cloud computing. And so, then he had a whole thing where they had a massive run up in 2000. He lost it all, houses, planes, whole disastrous thing, and then built back. And then I joined him in 2010. And they were doing projects like the whole space thing. Why I brought it up. We flew a video camera the size of a Volkswagen bus that was built by McDonnell Detweiler up to the ISS and installed it on the Russian module. So those are the projects these guys are working on, right? Like,
so wait, were you a part of that?
I was helping raise money for that one. Very not a founder, not an executive. Want to be really clear. I was brought in with that team to help, build a financial narrative, raise money, and that's where I learned. When he said if you want to fly stuff to space or build wooden spoons or carve wooden spoons, doesn't matter which company it is, you need to learn how to finance it. That's where I went, and that's what we were doing.
Dude, what a cool, I guess what a unique hodgepodge of experiences. I mean, you're working in the field, art degree, right? Art degree, working in the field. Okay. Then you start this one guy. Then now you're trying to raise capital for this company that's going to put something in the ISS, DACA, whatever. So how did you, I guess, go from that to what was that, I guess, experience for you to raise capital for something like this? Because that's kind of like, to me, that's a higher level talk than I know that I can comprehend, that I could actually engage and sit down comfortably with. So what was that like for you?
So that was the instrumental piece. If you want to start your own business, and there's different scenarios here. If you want to start your own business where you're a sole proprietor and you want to just organically grow it, that's one thing. You don't really need to know this. If you want to start a company and explode a platform, a technology platform, you're going to need financing, right? You got to bring on private investors. You got to bootstrap it. You got to learn how to build financial narratives. You have to know how to deal with investment bankers. When does corporate finance come in? How does A, B, and C round work? Who does that? How do they want to finance it? What's the nuance of all that?
Yeah.
That's its whole own thing. And if you don't know that, you're going to get wiped out. So that's where these guys were so instrumental for me. And when you go learn that world, which is what I did for 5 years, I worked for 40 grand a year. I went from 150 grand salary to 40 for 5 years. That was university, right? Tuition.
Right. Yeah.
And so if you do that, though, that was the best thing I've ever done, because then you come back in, and that's how I started coldboard and got involved with Raptor Rig and a bunch of other these companies that, kind of blow up, I say quickly in 5 years, but you go to hundreds of millions in valuation.
Well, 5 years is pretty. 5 years is pretty quick. I mean, it's pretty quick if you reflect back on your career path.
Yeah, it is in a business, more traditional business terms. But now, now we're seeing these businesses like these e-commerce shops. Everybody pops up and makes $200 million in a month, and I'm just some dickhead, working on a traditional business, heavy assets. Yeah.
how would for these people out there? I mean, because we have, the people that listen to this podcast are, wide array of backgrounds. You know what I mean? Some people like the entrepreneurial side of things. Some people like the job hunting. Some people like the career stories. Some people like the personal stories. How does someone, I guess, that does have that entrepreneurial spirit, that does want to learn about the finances side, the private equity, and all that, the banks and all that stuff. I mean, I guess, how would they, I guess, take a plunge and, I guess, learn those traits and learn those skills?
Simple. It's so easy. And don't look any further than this, because I had smart people tell me this and it works. So whatever it is you want to do, if you have no idea how to get started and you hear a podcast like this where the guy's like, you got to learn private equity, and you're like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, exactly.
What is that guy even talking about? I get it. So the thing that you do is, whatever business is you want to start, you find someone that you have access to, or through 1 or 2 degrees, and 2 degrees, if you really put effort into it and you don't, pour me yourself, you can get to a lot of people within 2 degrees of your network. Anyone. Yeah. So find the person that is the most successful in that field, that is running that business, and get in your car or plane and go see them, and just ask for meetings and time, and then offer to work for them for nothing or free. So if you don't, you're like, well, I can't work for free. Yeah, you can. You're just not willing to. Which means you might have to work. Yeah, you might have to work for a year or 2 to save all your money and not have a car and not have anything, to then go do it. So don't have that excuse in mind that you can't do it. If it's something you want bad enough, you always find a way. Like, if you want to live, I love Francis Ngannou. Do you know who that is?
Who is that?
The heavyweight champion of the UFC now.
I didn't know. Oh, go on.
I'll summarize real fast. He came from Africa and he was working in the sand mines for the first 18 years of his life. And then he got on container ships and illegally immigrated to France and got turned back 12 times. And they just dropped him in the desert to die. And then, like, no food, no shoes, no nothing, 17 years old, then finally gets to Paris, sleeps in a parkade, homeless for 2 years, and starts training MMA. He's like this natural Adonis, right? Yeah. Just natural ability, training MMA, gets into the UFC, knocks a couple of people out. 3 or 4 years later now, he is the champion, heavyweight champion of the world, multimillionaire, literally just learning English, came from a sand mine.
Yeah, and got turned back 12 times too.
12 times, dropped off to die in a desert. So how that's relevant to our story is, like, if you can't figure out a way to go find someone that's in an industry that's probably in Houston that owns a business, that you can't work for him for a year, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, go do it.
I see it. Yeah. Just do it. I mean, we had David Gibson on, and he kind of said the same thing. He's like, he's like a great guy. And he's like, I lived well below my means just to see my dream come to fruition. Like, I didn't have the nicest car. I didn't have the nicest office. I had a vision. I had a dream, and I went at it. And I think he just posted like 2 months ago. Now he's like completely debt free.
Yep.
I think that's pretty impressive. So tell me about, when did you start? How did coldboard technology start? And when did I guess it come to fruition?
So 2014, end of 2014, started 2015. And just started with, actually I was a drilling guy, right? I spent a long time in drilling.
Right.
So in 2014, before the first recession of like 3 here in a row.
I don't think we ever got out that recession.
Yeah. The first of the triple dip, let's call it that.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic. We just wanted to start something. So I just went out and raised $1 million just from people, like bootstrapped it, put it together, and we got there. Let's get an idea, a team, and we put it together, a business plan. And it was for acoustic telemetry. So MWD drilling. Okay. We wanted to use acoustics, develop an acoustic tool to improve the bit rate communication between bit and rig. And so we did that. We raised $1 million. We started developing. We got a couple of the best acoustic scientists in Canada, put them to work, and got a bit of an executive team in place. And within a year and a half, we had a tool that was firing. And we were over talking to Schlumberger and in the Middle East, and everyone was really excited about it. And then 2015 happened, and we had spent $2.5 million, pretty much everything we had raised to that point, and it went full recession, and there was no more drilling. Toast.
Yeah.
So we were like out of money, completely useless product, no market for it.
And again, also that's another thing too. I mean, that was completely outside of your realm of influence. I mean, that was nothing y'all could have done. Y'all couldn't have planned your business for this.
No, nothing to do with it. So that, then that's my biggest lesson to people is like, if you're worried, everyone's so worried right now, this pandemic, like the markets are hot and everything, like they're like, oh, I'm going to try to time this right. Like, I'm going to wait, or I'm going to, timing doesn't exist. This world is so wild and volatile now. You just got to get going, and it's not about timing. I mean, sure, you might be one of those guys that just hits it right, and then you're going to say that you timed it because you meant to. But
which is 90% of that's luck too.
That's it. And it's not timing so much with these businesses, it's perseverance. Like we're perfect timing now. Coldboard's got a platform that interconnects all of the services on a frac location because they don't have it. There's 7 companies out there on a $20 million frac jumping around each other, and they're not connected.
Right.
So we just said, this needs to be connected, like a bidirectional communication and an internet on site that just runs controls and automation. So you drop off a master control system, connects all the services, and runs it. And then it runs to the cloud in a dual instance so that you can run all these 10 pads remotely.
Okay, so and what you're also doing, which is kind of cool too. What I saw. I mean, obviously you're going to get into it a little bit more, but I saw it was all touch screen. It was very simple. It was very user friendly, very touch screen. So if someone gets to the rig or the well site, they know it's very easy to use because of now everyone has an iPad, everyone has a smartphone, everyone has this. So you're kind of taking that the technology people are using on a day-to-day basis and bringing that out to the well site, to the location.
Yeah. And that's really the crazy thing to me. And it came because we were drilling guys and we came into the completions market. So when we were doing that drilling tech and it tanked in 2015, we just pivoted into completions, took our tool over there, and we lost board members. We lost shareholders. I had no money. I went to Vancouver because all the mining guys were cash flush, raised another couple million on new idea for completions. And that ended up becoming SmartPad. But it all transpired because we were drilling guys that went into completions 6 years ago, and they were just doing it the same way they'd always done it in completions, which is just this box that everybody was living in. And they're all like, the biggest issue that we were trying to solve, or we heard people were trying to solve 4 or 5 years ago, was on a completions location, they don't have visibility. So they were building analytic platforms to connect and view remotely.
Okay.
I was like, great, that sounds great. But what are you viewing here? You're viewing a bunch of data from 6 or 7 companies that they have no control over how it's being gathered. It's just you have one operation, but you have 6 companies, 6 control systems, 6 timestamps that they're all recording their own individually that overlap and don't line up. And this one isn't congruent with the next one. And it's just a mess. And so that everyone's thinking, oh, we need visibility. Let's just build analytics platforms in the cloud and fire it to the cloud. And I went in and I'm like, on our drilling rig, we have an EDR, electronic drilling recorder, and it's just a computer that sits in the doghouse. It's gathering a lot of data, but the one element that it didn't have to deal with, like these cloud services in fracking, is that all the data it only had one company on that location, the drilling rig. So there was one timeline. So all the data that EDR would gather in drilling made sense because the timeline was absolute.
But then when you have 6 or 7 different companies, I guess that it just kind of starts murking up the waters a little bit when it comes to clarity and what you're actually capturing.
Yeah. So all the raw data you bring up to that cloud, when it's not associated with a correct timeline and it's matched, it's irrelevant. Like it doesn't make any sense. You can't make actionable calls on any of it and expect that to change the real world operation in any means. So, but nobody looked at it that way back then. They're just like, oh yeah, cloud visibility, we love it. And I'm like, hold on. Why don't you guys just digitize a frac tree and track the operation of the entire pad, create one timeline with a computer?
That seems like such a simple idea, though. I mean, Brett, not to knock coldboard technology and the entire foundation, but y'all stand on. But do you think, I guess, that innovative idea on, I guess, having one central unit, this coldboard smart pad, and I guess you're going to speak to that later. But I guess, do you think because you didn't have the completions experience, that you weren't on the locations during frac and all that stuff, that you were able to go in and kind of look at this issue with I guess a fresh set of eyes? I mean, would that be kind of, I guess the secret of I guess the birth of this idea on having one central unit, or one, I guess, data gathering unit?
Totally. It's just classic, just a different set of eyes on this problem, to come out and just see the forest through the trees. Somebody just to step back and say, I understand why you guys are all working on that. You've been working on it for a long time, but why has nobody talked about the real problem here? Right? This is a mess. This is a disaster. You got all these companies. You need to establish a timeline. And if you do that, you establish one timeline that all the computers on the location can connect to and agree on. You could just write logic and have autonomous frac, because you have all these control systems. They're just not connected. So we could solve a lot of problems with one solution here. Create a timeline, connect it with a master control system. Now all the control systems can communicate. We get controls and automation. We reduce infrastructure. We increase safety. More importantly, we format all the data from all these companies, because we have a timeline that's not associated with any of them.
Yeah.
So we can use it to audit. So we audit the timelines from the service companies. We audit the sand. We audit the water. We audit everything. Make sure it's right. Format it the same way every time. Completely autonomize these pads and make the data movement consistent every single time and completely accurate. And then the data movement within these companies is automated too. It's like all these problems are solved all at once, and everyone is just like, well, oh.
Oh, well, how come we were doing this before? So with the development of this, I guess it kind of sounds like kind of one of those things where it's kind of a simple solution if you kind of looked at it. If you looked at the paradigm on how we've done operations for the past several generations. So are you just still focused on, I guess this focus is a wrong word, because obviously it's your company, but are you still kind of have that entrepreneur, I guess, or your team have that, the lenses or the goggles or the visions, like, okay, where else can we make things make better sense out in the oil and gas industry?
Oh yeah. So this is just getting bigger and bigger now, because essentially what we've developed is a platform. What we're saying is there's an old way to frac, and that's having all the individual service companies come and have individual systems that aren't connected and send data to the cloud and put that burden on the operator. Also doesn't afford any of the services any advantages, because they're not sharing data.
Right.
And so what we're saying now is that there's this world where there's this interconnected master control system that allows for bidirectional communication and automation on site. Then the real win here is now that in the cloud, there's a platform. Because we've formatted these locations and it's becoming standard, it's industry standardization, meaning that we can look at pads across different areas the same way. And we can start to develop features and plug different service companies into this. Everybody can come and start to plug in, because there's a established format, which there wasn't before. And that's like the analogy that works well is what Amazon did for e-commerce, right? All these retail stores had their own business that would sell stuff on their websites, and it was all disjointed and not connected, which is not a great experience for the customer. They got to take time to drive around and just do. So anyway, Amazon just builds a platform. Everybody comes in, connects, shares all the features, all the benefits. If you are one of the people that comes on Amazon early and connect and build a storefront and duplicate your storefront there, you have access to this whole new platform. You sell way more, you have better features, better benefits, costs come down. All this is happening in completions right now. So the service companies that are coming to it, their marketing now is going, hey, I'm fully autonomous capable.
And so you're finding not only good reception from the customers, from the operators, but it sounds like you're also finding good reception also from the different service providers that are out on location.
The service companies are our partners and clients as much as the operators are, right? So coldboard is our whole value of our company is we're completely agnostic. We provide the tool and the platform for this transition to happen to fully connected automation. We work with the biggest service companies in the US, the biggest brands you can think of, right, and building screens for them, building connectivity, building data movement. They're now, I'll give you an example. The operator is our first client. It's their pads. So we bring the system, we say, hey, you want one system, bring all your services into one place and automate. They're like, yes, please. Great, let's do that. Then we talk to the service companies and say, hey, this is a shared benefit. You guys can have access to other data on this pad that would allow your control system to run more efficiently for your client. Meaning the pressure pumpers and the frac tree companies, we can share data. So they don't have that ability right now. So now through our central control system, the big pressure pumping companies we work with are pumping stage one. And as their pumps ramp down, the control system from the wellhead providing company is watching, and it sees the pumps ramping down and it auto switches, meaning that they don't lose any time. They don't have people on radios. Wow. They don't have communication. They're just getting continuous pumping, and it's turning into a factory where because in reality, all these companies are interacting, right? In real life. Yeah. So now their computers are interacting in the same fashion, meaning that this can turn into a factory process.
So this is the future of fracking, as you were talking about one of y'all's videos.
100%. Well, and I won't be egotistical enough to say that for sure coldboard is the one that pulls it off as the platform. There could be someone else that we trip and it might be someone else. I doubt it. I think we got a good handle on this. I think we are going to be the one that introduces this, but fully autonomous, interconnected, bi-directional fracs on pad is 100% where all the fracs will be in the future.
It's going.
You cannot compete with that from an efficiency standpoint at all. It's like, you can start your own platform to sell stuff online and compete against Amazon if you want, but that's the way that everybody sells now. You can't not have it. Right.
So I'm assuming you built this, you built the platform, you built coldboard before you actually even brought it to market. I mean, well, I guess, how much, engagement did you get from different service companies or different operators about like, hey, look, we got this idea. It's going to be, one system. Everyone's gonna be communicating. I guess selling a new idea to an industry that is very traditional, this is how we've always done it. This is how we're going to do it. My dad has done it this way. I guess, what am I trying to say right now? How was the buy-in, during the inception of this idea that y'all had?
So there's two things to that. One is that, oil and gas is super slow to adopt tech. And big concepts like this. So the second element of that answer is that we learn as we go. We had an idea that was pretty much this at the start, but we didn't know how to explain from start to finish. And we didn't know the 100 steps, arbitrary number, 100 that it's going to take to get there. And here's how you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 very clearly. And here's the ROI at 4 and 8 and 10. That is what you don't have defined early. So I won't even put it on the operating companies and the service companies not adopting. They're well within their proper, logical reasoning to turn this down for the first 2 years. Right. They go, great, we would love full autonomy and all that, but that's pretty ambiguous. What's the first 4 steps? And until you just got to be there every day, getting shut down, saying no, get on one pad, get kicked off. 4 years ago, get on 3 pads, get kicked off, work with a client for 6 months. They love the idea, but it doesn't go fast enough. You get kicked out. And you just keep coming back. And now we're at a point where we have enough adoption, enough market saturation. We've had enough conversations. We worked with enough service companies from every angle and operators to know exactly, this is the 100 steps. Here's where you are. We'll assess your company. You're in 10 or you're in 20, and you're going to take 25 to 30 in the next 3 weeks. And then in the next 6, we'll do this, and you'll see an ROI of X. And now that it's that defined, we are seeing the hockey stick.
Okay.
But it takes the learning of us, not just the industry. That's why everyone always puts it on the industry. Like, oh, they're slow to adopt. We have to learn as companies what that process is to get them there, because everyone loves the end idea, but they can't justify that to their shareholders in spending money for that for the next year it takes to transition, 6 months, right?
Yeah,
So now we've got
spending new money on new technology in our industry is, you got to get buy-in. I mean, it's not something people don't like testing out new. I'm not saying everybody, again, all the listeners out there, but for the majority of time, I'm not comfortable testing out this new technology just because we have it. I can't justify spending X amount to try something new. And that's the
right.
kind of the. Were you gonna say something?
And yeah, well, and you have to get your product to a point where we are now, where we show up and we can tell them the value and show them through case studies and third-party validation. Like, here, talk to the other operators, and they get a return pad 1, and that return is 2 ROI, 3 ROI, but we're still selling the 10, 15, 20 ROI once full automation and pad is adopted, but we can demonstrate 2 to 3 day one. And once you get that, that's when you start to see the adoption go.
Are you finding that, I guess, what changes in the industry are you finding since COVID? Because it seems to me that since COVID, I mean, the downturn you were talking about, the 2014, 2015 downturn it seemed like price was the driver. Right. Yeah. And lately, I mean, the couple buzzwords have been going around over the past 8 months. It's been data analytics, it's been ESG, and it's been technology. And I'm kind of hearing more and more and more that technology is a huge push right now through this downturn. I guess, are you seeing that as well? Are you seeing that COVID is kind of, I guess, or this last dumpster fire, whatever shitstorm, whatever you want to call it? Do you see that as kind of being are you seeing that technology being more of a central, I guess, decision in a lot of people's eyes right now? Or are we there yet?
Yeah. And there's always an underlying foundational reason for this stuff, right? It's not just like, oh, this one's just different because it's different. This one is different because the oil and gas companies have been going through recession after recession after recession, getting hammered. More and more going bankrupt, more and more having to file Chapter 11.
Right.
And finally, it came to a head in this one after the pandemic that it was mayhem. And so there was this consolidation that happened, right? We see Conoco, we see Pioneer, we see, you name
Parsley,
it. Everybody's buying everybody. WPX going to Devon and all these guys. Everyone's just consolidates, and they go from 40 or 50 oil companies, but down to 10 or 15 major guys. And so what happens in that environment is that when those oil companies do this absorption, they're driven by their M&A departments, and they're driven by their board, and they're driven by their shareholders. Go buy this acreage because we're going to do, this is our strategy. And I should mention Toby at EQT, one of my personal friends, our biggest investor. Those guys are on a tear, right? They buying up everything they can get their hands on. But it's not the culture inside those companies now. When they absorb a new one, it just shakes everything up. They tear it down, they restructure, they put new people everywhere. And those companies are driven by their shareholders and their board. And the board says, we just spent $3 billion, whatever it is, and we acquired this, and we now have set targets that we have to deliver on after this huge shaky market. We're taking a risk. And if we don't deliver on these calls, on these earnings calls in the next quarter, we're gone. So we're not tolerating. So what it does, it takes the decision out of the middle. The old guard that used to be there that would usually make the calls about technology, and they're like, we're not really going to try that because I know how to do it best.
Yeah.
Those guys, that mentality comes from a tallest sunflower gets cut first, right? Because those guys have $500,000 a year jobs.
Right.
Why would they try a tech? Like, are they going to get a bonus if they improve the bottom line by 4%? No. Are they going to get fired if they screw something up? Maybe. Right. And so that is what always governed the pushback on new technology adoption.
And chances are those people that you're speaking about are not even comfortable with new technology. I mean, there's people out there like, I don't even know how to do it. I don't even know how to open up email. So, I mean, the whole hesitation towards, I guess, adopting technology too, I could see that as kind of being a push too.
Well, you're a guy. Most of the biggest problem is that you're a guy selling automated stock picking robots to Amazon, but you have to go in and talk to the people in the warehouse to see if they like it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right. It's like, no, I don't like that. But so that's gone now. And now the boards and the directors are mandating. Fine. Now the incentive is there that if these new people put in the new positions don't find automation, large efficiency gains, and ways to track ESG and all this, that's what's going to get them fired. And so that's what's shifted in the industry right now. And that's why everything's moving. Like with us, we're there for controls and automation and efficiency gain, number one, but equal to that, the auditing that I talked about on this pad is auditing ESG, greenhouse gases. So automation can drop these pads, can increase these pads efficiency overall by 20 or 30%. It's a wholesale shift. It's millions. It's 15 days off a program, but all that equates to what they want to market, which is 15 days off, and how much diesel would we have used reduced. Not only did we take a huge amount of greenhouse gases out of this equation to do the same work, but we have the ability to track, audit, and report and prove it. And that's really like, so all of that combined is what your question is, just driving everybody to get automated.
So you're seeing, I guess, in the future, the near future oil and gas industries is things to start getting more automated, more technology focused. That's gonna be the push. It's not gonna be, hey, sharpen your pencils on your on your bid. It's more like it's an overhaul of a kind of how we operate.
Sharpening pencils is done. Nobody has any margin left. You talk to the services, like you can't bleed them all, man. You need good services out there. So what has to happen now is we have to adopt automation. We have to have one of these leaps happen where you look at a completions pad and stop looking at onesie, twosie improvements, adopt full autonomy and take a 20, 30% leap in how that whole operation was accomplished, and then start paying back performance-based contracts if you track it properly to the people that perform.
Yeah.
And now everyone can start winning again. Right.
See, I mean, I had David Reed on here. He's the chief marketing, chief technology officer at NOV. Little flex, and we I love his background because he was an architect, and he did that for several years. And what he brings to the industry, he just has a different, just kind of like how you did when you went out there. You're like, how come this is happening? How come we just don't do it this way? It's a new set of eyes, and it's a new mindset. It's just an innovative new mindset that no one's thought about before. And I'm not sure it's the architecture background or the art background that you've had before, or hey, this just doesn't make sense. How come we just don't do it this way? I like having those different perspectives and I guess different backgrounds that are shaking our industry up, so I respect that on your end and David's end, all you entrepreneurs and the way you view how we've done business generation over generation. I just love how you see new solutions for problems that we never knew that were here before. So I'm just
appreciate that.
Hats off to that. So let's talk about this. So y'all most recently went on y'all were kind of featured in the Digital Wildcatters Evolve conference that took place, 2 weeks ago, was that?
Mm-hmm.
That was first off, that was an unbelievable conference. I mean, I watched that and I was just blown away. And y'all had a part in that too. You want to speak to that just a little bit? And there's video clips too on y'all's website, y'all's LinkedIn, and y'all's YouTube.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I got to give credit where credit's due. I know Jake and Colin well, those guys. We talk a lot on Instagram. I chat with those guys almost every day. Great guy. Like, we just align. We're the same type of people. Like,
just saw Colin this morning. I ran into Colin this morning. It was his son's birthday. Sent him a little pancake with a little whipped cream happy face. It was his son's 5-year-old birthday.
Oh yeah, like the happy birthday for Colin.
Small world, huh?
Yeah. So just good dudes. They're trying to, they're forging a relationship with Toby Rice as well, which is obviously a good friend of mine. And so we're all in the same network,
right?
Yes. Yeah. He's the CEO there now. Yeah. So I actually was traveling that day and I knew it was going on, but we didn't have, like, Colin and them just went out to EQT. Steve Coe, Toby Rice at EQT. Those guys are some of the smartest, most advanced automation and efficiency. I mean, look at the number. The way they're turning that company around speaks for itself. You look at the numbers that they've had, and yeah, natural gas has had a bit of a comeback in price, but those guys know how to run businesses and they are militant. And it's all based on automation and data. They don't go off hearsay or, old methods. We're here to run a business. And so Colin and those guys getting involved with them is just a natural fit. Toby has a group that he calls Shellenials. And so he's all about automating and digitizing the oil patch. And that's why we're part of this network. Like, Toby invested in us to bring us in. And I think he's doing the same, bringing Jake and Colin in. And we're just building this whole new, slightly younger demographic of, I love the Digital Wildcatters branding and the Shellenials, and
where it's okay to kind of be the not the younger generation, but be a kind of a newer generation, if you will.
It's just add a different expertise to the expertise that's out there, which is absolutely critical. The guys who've been out there for 30 years that know exactly what's going on, we're mixing skill sets now. And I think it's super valuable.
So was that just like great exposure? I mean, what kind of feedback did y'all get after that Evolve conference from? I imagine, 6,000 to 8,000 attendees. I'm sure you got some pretty good feedback or people reaching out to y'all.
Yeah, I a little bit. I got some good feedback. Probably 10 or 15 people reaching out and saying it was good. I think a lot more people saw it than, I mean, I'm so busy right now that I honestly am kind of bad for just glazing over things and focused on, we're doing financings and we're doing partnership talks with, with Baker. Like there's a ton of stuff going on. So, but it was awesome. And my guys were real pumped with it. And when I saw the actual coverage, those guys just do such a good job, a lot like yourself. They're very good at finding out what matters and not having, just pointless conversations, trying to fill generic gaps.
Filling time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just really good content. I love what they're doing. We're going to be involved with them a lot more. Jake and I and Colin are talking about doing a podcast together, getting it started. So whatever. I'm sure I'll be involved with those guys for a long time.
That'd be legit. It would be called the Butcher's Son. That'd be the Butcher's Grandson. That'd be the title of it. So I guess what where do you want to see, I guess, the oil and gas industry, I guess, evolve into and change during, I guess, in the near term?
I just like seeing that the industry is moving to be one that's more accepting of progress and change. That's all that really matters to me. Like, I don't have any specific, I think across the board, we've kind of done ourselves a bit of a disservice here in, thinking that we know the best and having that bit of and that comes from, and I this is my opinion, that comes from pride. And I have it internal, like an internal ego that I have from getting my lunch kicked around and being swore at and frozen. And, just the word, you have an ego about it. And you're like, no, this is how I do shit. And once you get to make calls, you make calls. I think we need to it's really good that we're putting that in check a little bit. Maintain that pride, that oil patch pride, because that is something that's earned. Yeah. And, but then look, okay, let's also be open-minded to people coming in that are trying to help us, like if they're from different industries or from
different industries, this new technology. I'm enjoying to see all this stuff. I mean, it seems to me from March 2020 until now, it's kind of shifted into there's, whether it's been a down industry, whether it's been consolidated, whether it's been doom and gloom, whether it's been a shit show, whatever it is, it seems to me that the last, 13 months has been a kind of a shot in the ass to our industry, where it's like, you're seeing this new technology, you're seeing, the Evolve conference, how it was actually like produced like a MTV reality show, like The Hills. Like, it was just unbelievable. And like, you're seeing like the new ways of marketing, it's more engaging, more fun, and more hip, if you want to say it. I'm enjoying seeing that side of our industry. And I'm hopeful for it.
Oh yeah, stuff like this, stuff that you guys are doing this podcast. This is the type of content and media that matters now. Way more genuine, way more conversational, and stuff that matters and that's fun. Like this, having conversations like this is fun. You're not like, I got a list of questions about how, the oil and gas industry, here's the numbers from last quarter. Like, who gives a shit? Boring. We know that all matters. It obviously matters. We run our businesses very carefully and have conservative accounting practice. Don't talk about that unless you're on an accounting podcast.
Yeah.
Like let's talk. And that's what the Wildcatters guys are so good at too. They're open and willing to be, I guess, criticized for how they are seen as not traditionally professional. But in my mind, it's the new modern professional.
No. Yeah, no. I mean, I completely agree. I think this type of stuff, where you actually bring some sort of, because there's some discussions out there. I'm not going to say podcast, but there's some discussions out there and all that stuff where it's so technical and so market, so this, so that. It doesn't show who we are as an industry. It doesn't show who you are, Brett. It doesn't show who I am. It doesn't show who John Smith is. I mean, that's the point of, I guess, these type of podcasts, is to kind of show the personal side of our industry, get to know a little more about you. Oh, I never knew you were an artist. I never knew you did this. I never knew you worked rigs for 8. I mean, it's just to get to know the person a little bit behind the position. So we are more of a story versus kind of these stereotyped, engineers or roughnecks. There's more to us. And if one person outside the industry hears that, who's kind of against oil and gas, and they're thinking, oh shit, maybe they're family people too. Like, we got more in common than we don't. And that's kind of been, I guess, kind of a goal, whether it happens or not, of this new type of content, these podcasts.
Very well said. 100%. Yeah. Bring the humanity back into it and just make it more relatable and people open to this. Like these discussions, these types of discussions are what breed real innovation. If you could have this discussion, and we do, kudos to guys at NOV. I talk with top guys at NOV, C-suite, top guys at FMC, another amazing company we work with. We have very candid conversations like this. Who else do we work with? Evolution, really great company. Frac Tech, those boys. I just had a conversation with the executives at Frac Tech this week. Man, they're looking at my house like you got a polar bear on your desk there? Man, what the hell is that? You got toys and trinkets? And they're just like, they just lit me up right away about my house and stuff. And I'm like, hey, sitting in their boardroom. They're like, coldboard, is that like Coldplay, like the band? You like Coldplay? I'm like, yeah.
The band.
Yeah.
No, so Dad, it's not the band.
I just love them. So, but that's kind of like everyone's opening up because I think this whole digital culture now, you're in my living room. So let's just have a chat.
So how strategic right now are you about, I guess, your living room setup when you do one of these? I see a little chess thing to your, was that to your right? I mean, is that just there to show, because it's not checkers, it's chess. So is that just there to kind of flex?
I look like a checkers guy to you?
I'm a checkers guy. Look at the back of my wall. It's all checkers.
Yeah, that's right.
So
no,
I mean,
that usually sits right here.
Is this all staged? You maybe put some books back there. Just be like, yeah, I read literature sometimes. I mean, is this all staged or is it always that clean?
No, this is my house, man. Yeah, this is it. So this sits on my little side table that usually sits in my dining room table. It's where me and my buddies play when we have drinks.
And what's your dog's name?
Oh, I got two, Frankenstein and Dracula, two French bulldogs. They're around here somewhere.
You a big horror fan?
A big what? No, the one guy I adopted him. He's a rescue, and his name was already Dracula. Some kids named him, and then I got the other one. I just obviously had to name him Frankenstein.
Yeah, I think you had to. So what are you doing, I guess, when you're not at Coldboard Technologies or focused on that? What are you doing, I guess, in your personal time? Like how
cars,
do you cars? Okay.
Huge car guy. Everything like buying and selling and modifying and fixing. And like, I love Lambos and Beamers and old Lincolns, 64 Lincolns and fastbacks. And like, I've had every car under the sun and kind of built a lot of them too. So I do a lot of that. And snowmobiling and outdoor stuff. So summer on the lake and winter in the mountains.
That's okay. All right. So pretty much, what car are you working on? You working on anything special now?
I got an E46 M3, a Laguna Seca Blue, one of 13 E46 M3 I just found and picked up. So this is my project this summer.
That'll be a nice little project then.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's mint shape, but I'm putting all the parts on it that I want.
Wait, what is this one called?
Is a BMW M3, like a 2001.
Okay.
E46 M3 in Laguna Seca Blue. It's like the iconic M3 right when we came out of high school. It's a car we always wanted.
I'm just checking this out right now. Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
all right. I dig that.
And I just sold my Superleggera. I had an 08 Superleggera that to get a few different cars. So that there's a whole story behind that. I got a Lamborghini I owned for a week that got backed into and dented, and yeah, there's a funny story behind it.
You know what? That's what that always,
another day.
That always happens with my Lambos. That's why I don't buy Lambos anymore. I'm over them. I'm over them.
That's the lesson, right? It's like that's what you get for buying a Lamborghini, you dickhead.
So Brett, what else you got for us, man? I mean, I think we're coming up on I don't even know how long we've been doing this, but I've really enjoyed this chat and talking to you. Next time you're in Houston, man, I'd love to tag up for a beer, a game of checkers, or something like that. Do you have anything that you'd like to leave our listeners with that? Again, everyone, this is Brett Chell, President CEO at Coldboard Technology. I highly encourage you to check out, I guess, their YouTube, their website, and connect with them on LinkedIn. They got some pretty cool stuff out there, and check out the Smart Pad. That's that one stop shop touchscreen automatization thing that he's been talking about this entire time. So you got anything else for us you want to leave us with? Any words of wisdom, nuggets of knowledge, or anything?
No, man, I'm not a wisdom guy. Like I can't wait to get back down there. I've been trapped here for a year, and we're traveling again in end of the month here. We're going to go see a bunch of our partners and clients, and we're doing kind of a round trip between Houston and Pittsburgh. So man, God bless Texas. I love that place. I can't wait to get down, get some barbecue, take that mask off, and hang out with you guys. So
well, man,
I'll be seeing all of you.
Good. Hit us up, man. I'd love to meet face to face, man. Until then, I guess Be safe. Have fun with Dracula and Frankenstein. And I guess I wish you the best of luck, man. I've really enjoyed this. Good talking to you, and you keep being you, man. I appreciate it.
Same here. Thanks so much, man. It's been real fun.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, JP.